Welcome back. So we are in chapter 4 in the first part, anger myths. That's what we covered before. And this is the last part of this little bit of the chapter. And it's called I'm Just Being Honest. The Let It All Hang Out crowd during the 70s said that they were just being honest in telling it like it is. Kind of like pull yourself up from the bootstraps type, But telling it like it is when one is angry may neither be honest nor about truth. Being angry results in distorted thinking. And an easy example of this is being cut off on the freeway. Yet who is the person who's insulting you? You can say that you're being honest by being angry, but it may not be truthful because that person probably was not, trying to do anything to you. Sometimes an innocent action is viewed as a trespass and triggers a reaction. The reaction is not about truth. Even though the anger may seem honest, a great many of our reactions to anger, the finger on the freeway, throwing things, or hitting people, are simply indulging in childish responses. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a minute. I think we all have those moments where we just need to let it out, take a breath, and just go on with our day. And personally, I don't see anything wrong if it doesn't hurt anyone else, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't say throwing something or, hitting people. Of course not. We don't condone violence here. But if you're okay, whatever, I'm just going to F you or throw up your finger and then just move on. Okay, whatever, move on with your day. But if you're going out of your way to hurt someone, throw something at them or hurt them, I think that's really not a good thing. Okay, continuing on. It exhilarates us, makes us feel good in the moment. It makes us feel less helpless, but it is not powerful. It is not taking responsibility for our behavior. Brady warns us, research has shown that there's little health benefit from this kind of behavior. Anger can get out of control and create both mental and physical health risks. Unreasonable anger is a symptom of many disorders. Psychologically, we know that anger can create an unhealthy environment for anyone in contact with an angry person. So go ahead and be angry, but don't react in an immature manner, and say that you are being honest. If getting cut off on the freeway enrages you, then you probably have a great deal of undifferentiated anger, which needs to be addressed rather than acted upon. Although we often believe that all we want is justice predicated upon anger instead of being righteous is self-righteous. It is self-interested and self-indulgent. Anger is a disorganizing emotion. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. I want to say that being angry is completely normal, whether you're adopted or not. And being angry about your adoption, whether it's toward your adoptive parent for adopting you, for abusing you, for holding back information, or towards your biological family, for the maternal separation, for the relinquishment, for not keeping in touch, whatever it may be, right? There's a variety of reasons. All of that is completely valid, okay? And for the non-adoptees that are listening, I want you guys to consider this. If you were taken from your parents, and we're just talking about, maybe there's a death in the family, right? Oftentimes when someone loses a parent, you have, there might be anger for that child, right? Or for that person. They could be angry that person left them. And usually people are very understanding when it comes to that. But for some reason, when it comes to adoptees, people just kind of brush us off. Anyway, we're going to continue on. This is very important for everyone to understand what it means. To understand what it means is that, however we attempt to settle an argument while in the thralls of this emotion, it will probably not turn out very well. People will say, I was so angry that I couldn't see straight. And yet they will justify their reaction while not seeing straight. Pert warns us that reality is distorted by our chemistry, which includes emotional tones from our past history. There is no justification in the adult world for reacting to these perceptions. While caught up in an emotion without allowing thought to kick in, justice seen through disordered eyes is not justice. So this is like, how to explain? There's two things I want to say. One, when it comes to that's not justice, I think, and I could be wrong on this is just my personal opinion. What she is saying is that, we have to have a clear mind. Having all sides of the story and having someone from the outside point of view is sometimes extremely helpful, right? But we can't, being in our anger tends to have a biased point of view. And I have like this iffy kind of emotion towards that, because while we absolutely have life experience, and that's completely valid and should be taken, first and foremost, we often don't. We don't get heard. And that alone is very frustrating and angers me. Yes, I'm going to use the word. But at the same time, how can you seek justice when you're not listening to the person that is victimized, right? And to hear the anger, the passion, the sadness, all of this is very important to our story, to our, I don't want to say well-being, but to how we relate back and talk about it to other people, right? That tends to be how we get through to people, is through emotions and not just facts. Because I will tell you guys, I can say, I can put zero emotion into what I'm talking about, right? I can talk about clear statistics, not even mention lived experience. And people tend to be like, oh, but you're putting your lived experience in with, all of this statistics. And I haven't mentioned my lived experience. I didn't say whether my experience was good. I haven't said whether my experience is bad. And usually when I begin to even tell my story, people, so first of all, I have a good experience, right? And I'm quoting myself on the good part. And I usually see adoptees who haven't gone through the fog, which is fear, obligation, and guilt. I've seen adoptees who are so, ramped up in their personal experience without stepping back and saying, hey, just because I had a good experience doesn't mean others haven't, right? What can we do better to change the system? Because wouldn't you want that for all adoptees? And this is where I come in with as an adoptee with a, again, quote unquote, good experience. We should not use our experiences to negate others, right? Yes, we got lucky to have that quote unquote good experience. And so while it's complex, because I don't think adoption will ever truly go away in legalities, at least no time soon. I would consider myself anti-adoption, but pro safe external care, right? And when I say that, people still get up in arms because I think they're so caught up on the word adoption and not understanding that we're talking about a set of laws and not that there isn't a time and a place where a child must be removed. And I've tried to break it down over and over again, but a lot of non-adoptees specifically, of course there's always going to be a group of adoptees in there too, don't understand that. They're always like, well, I was saved, or, if it wasn't for this, I'd be in a bad place. And I'm like, no, it would just be different, right? Like, adoption doesn't guarantee love and safety, although it absolutely should. It's that we would have more human rights. We would have access to things that we should have access to. And if you choose as an adoptee to go search for your original birth certificates, your medical information, your culture, your family, if that wasn't given that to you from the start from your adoptive parents, then you would have a bit, I'm saying in the most realistic, if I can magically wave a wand and change everything, that we would be able to, right? Instead of fighting tooth and nail with the government. And I feel like a lot of these so-called happy adoptees don't want to break that wall and don't want to take off those rose-colored glasses because they're afraid. Now, that being said, there are definitely, adoptees like myself who, despite taking off the rose-colored glasses and stuff, and I would still consider myself, I had a really good experience, right? But I also recognize that there is trauma. I also recognize that I got extremely lucky, right? And I, again, with the quote-unquote good adoption story, would like to spread better information for the adoptive parents that are out there to do better, so that more adoptees can have a better experience while we're trying to change the laws, right? And it would be nice if more adoptive parents and bio parents were on board with adoptees to do what is in the best child's interest, right? And that is something that I've had these discussions with even my mom, my adoptive mom, but my mom. We were talking about it in the car earlier, actually, and she's like, well, would you change? And I was like, not in that sense. Like, I would still want to be with you, even though technically they're strangers, right? I was taken at birth. But I would want a guardianship instead, right? Because then I could still access all of this information. And she completely understood what I meant. It's just a different set of laws that is a little bit more child-centric. Now, that being said, the safe external care options, which I have gone over and it's on my page in multiple places, also need reform. So I want to make that abundantly clear. Everything needs reform right now. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.